very much for joining me. Polina here, chatting to you a little bit about the month of June and this full moon coming on the 14th of June. Now it's the 11th, so cutting it a little bit short. But nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about this and maybe a little bit about the time afterwards. So this video is worth it for you. Before I read for you, I'd like to bring your attention to the caption section below and a few ideas that I have happening during this time. So one of them is people visiting me in Peru. If you'd like to visit for healing, for plants, for medicines and such, and if you'd like to also have a look at my little book, I've made a very basic little book of mantras just for myself basically. And if you like, you can also use this book or download it if you care. So here is the video for this particular time. So on the 14th we have a full moon in Sag, and things can get a little bit heated and serious because we are coming up to the MC with the moon. So this is purpose. This is the top of the global sky, and we're in the last few degrees of Gemini with the sun. And this might get a little heated also because Eros is close to the sun and Black Moon Lilith is quite close, being still in Cancer. There's a very, very interesting, deep and emotional connection that sometimes people can have to their worth and their self-purpose, their view of the world and their view of themselves. So some of the time, people's buttons can be pushed very easily during this time. And how you feel about yourself and your progress, your worth and worthlessness can be really, really extreme. And quite a lot of us that have been brought up in very tight-minded or emotional families can have a very, very emotional time. So Sagittarius, I see the sign as kind of like the leader or the teacher sign. It is the 9th house, the house of learning, also to a degree a house of exploration and travel as well. If you want, you can help yourself grow by connecting your energy to that which you want to learn from and not push anybody's buttons. Unfortunately, we're not that mature as a species, so sometimes instead of growing, people will go about and just cause a ruckus. So if you are one of those people that likes to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, if you sometimes get very jealous, emotional, or fragile, it's going to be a very hard time. Also the North Node, so the global calling right now is in Taurus. Also, I'd like to bring your attention that it is conjunct to Uranus, Venus also, and Mercury as well, almost conjunct with Sedna and Pallas there as well. So there is like quite an intense, extreme feeling sometimes in some cases as to what people have to do to survive or succeed. Some of us will have a lot of questions on our mind here, and I think that a lot of these things, or like falling out with friends, or not really wanting to do what you've tried to do for such a long time, is going to come to the surface. So breakups and marriages falling apart, also many things coming true or coming untrue, things coming undone. I can't believe this is over, I can't believe this is done, or like I can't believe I've tried to do this for so many years. So this is when some people might have quite a fragile time. Also with Black Moon Lilith being very close to the sun relatively. So there is going to be, I feel, a very, very nice and needed stop and a question mark. We have also Mars right next to Chiron. So to me this is a very, very big deliberate window to find out more. I got to get those keys, I got to get those numbers, I got to get that next phase. If you are with a disease, if you have an illness, it's a very, very intense and extreme time. So this is where for some people things can surface, and for others there is just a very clear answer or understanding on idea, oh, I got to do this now. But this can be very, very pushy. So I'm feeling that there is quite an emotional extreme. Also, people can come in and come out of your life. The way that people are grouped is very intense. So sometimes you might have a big no from somebody or a big, big following. So this kind of depends on how you've done in the previous months. A lot of it isn't really ours to judge. It is just how people feel the most centered or the most well. It is not beknown to us sometimes why a person would choose this or that. So for example, why somebody's lining up at your door, or why the customers have faded out, or if people do want to touch your life or do want to come along, or if they definitely don't want to come along. We cannot control how we are treated in society here. We can't follow also other people without really feeling the calling or wanting to. So if you are very, very distressed about it, so for example, having no interest in your spouse, or like feeling like your business is not generating customers, so feeling there is a lull or drop off with energy, and not being able or not being available to fix a situation, not knowing how to extend things, not knowing how to help other people, or how to get yourself along, how to fix a certain circumstance. If you just don't know how to fix things yet, try to wait. Don't do it if you are thinking of doing something very, very mysterious and very mischievous, or if you're thinking about doing a few things, complicated things to get what you want done. I think it's a very, very hard job later on if people do something very fast and very quick here. So what I mean is, for example, getting a procedure done that you're not ready for at the moment is going to be very costly later on, and you'll have to also face authority here. So I have to also say this, Saturn is at a trine to the Sun, and to me that feels that yes, it could be authority based question mark. So for example, advertising something that you are not you're not knowing what you're advertising, selling things or buying things that you don't know about, doing things with people that don't mean the world to you, or not knowing how to do things and still saying that you're a master at it, is going to be very costly for some people. So there could be authorities involved. For example, if you are telling people that you can cut hair and you work as a hairdresser, but you've only had very little experience and you've never actually been to school, that's going to be costly for some people. So it's very important, because Saturn is asking us, also being at a square to the stellium in Taurus, he's asking us, what do you really want to do here? Like, do you really have the guts? Do you really have the brawn? Do you really have the body? Do you really have the methods? Do you really have the money to do this? So it's a very, very strong question mark. And yes, some people can just say, yes, I can do this with my eyes closed. So this is for the very, very few of us that can actually really, really perfect our craft here. If you are working with something that you've done for a long time, you can be very masterful at it today. If you are a true master at philosophy, or a true master of art, or a true master of music, dance, anything, this can go for it forever. Like, this can go for ages. So something that you are doing here, if you are genuinely good at it, you might be probably even the only one left in the game. Now, this is a really, really big one for me, so I'm going for something like that at the moment. If you are actually a master at something, and if you are like a true healer at something, if you really, really, really know your stuff, understand that during these times, practice makes perfect for sure. And being very, very adamant and very strong in your career choice can make you later on unbeatable. So imagine 40 years later, you're still the only one in the industry that everybody goes to. That to me is very, very exciting. So for example, if you have enough maturity and you have enough concepts and you have enough adequacy in something that you're doing, that is going to show. And sometimes you don't even care if anybody else is around you at this point. You don't even care if anything is happening. You might not be able to respond to certain phone calls or be around certain people that are taking your attention from that which you're naturally good at. So if you have a naturalness about you, if you have a very true calling, true karma, like good karma, and true attention to details, it might start to be something that is really obvious, and it's almost like fixative. So this means a lot of the other things are gonna fade, and try to be mature here. So I think that a lot of us might have a fade of. The point of Sagittarius is to point attention and intention towards only the one thing. So if you can imagine, you're aiming with a bow and arrow. So your arrow has to be exact on that point to be able to make it there. In some ways, I feel this moon is going to be very accentuating. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have the skills, or if you just don't have the concepts for a certain thing, and it's not yours to do, like it's easy. It's very easy. So it's hard for some people. So we can take things very personally. Also, if we have grown up through a system that tells us we can do anything, we can be anybody, no matter what. Yes, fish can fly and birds can swim, you know, all of that kind of stuff. That's not too bad. It's just really important that we are associative and we know our strengths. A little bit more about the tiger year. So 2022 is the year of the water tiger. If you don't got it, it's not a bad thing as well. Like if you don't have that yet, or if you don't know how to do something, there might be something else about you that is masterful. So especially for people in our 30s and 40s and 50s, it's a really good time not to ask those questions anymore. So if you have been brought up in a system that makes you ask too many questions, it's actually okay just to see it now, where you are naturally starting to mature and master, and who you are becoming through that. And it's absolutely okay that other people can't show you respect elsewhere. So a sudden lull in other ways, you know, a sudden lull in your relationships, or sudden lull with your friends, or not being able to be invited somewhere, or having no spaces available, is a very good choice. So if you don't have anywhere to go, if you have nothing to do some ways, that is a bettering of that one point that you need to go to. So this is about force and action. For some people, there's going to be a change of lifetime because Uranus is next to North Node retrograde. There's going to be a very big show of hands or showcase as to where you needed to be, maybe now for a long time. If you also have been overdue, so for example, if you have not been very demonstrative about your talents or about your focus, now is going to be a very, very easy way to get those things across. Very easy time to start speaking of those things that you really actually want to be a part of. And very easy to be part of things that you really want to know about. Also have to say that Fortune has just gone, will be going through the VX point here in Makemake, which is the mother planet. So this is a very, very nice, neat window to understand the turning of events, and sometimes even unfortunate circumstance, as kind of like a secret message to you. That closed door in front of you is a good thing and is a happy choice. So like the idea here is not to force anything into action. The best part of it is to try to stay true and not force anything. So when we're forcing things and we really want things to work, and we obsess about the details, we become upset about where we're going and what our outcomes are, that is going to show. And I think that we have to be very, very careful and very conscious and not overstate anything. If you've also had a bad month, which is rare, but sometimes it happens. If I've had a bad month, I did. If say June has been it's not usual, but it was very hard for me. If June was a hard month for you, it's a really, really nice, good window to give things away. So if we have an unconscious karma, it's really good to give. If you can imagine, it's like preparing to leave the country. So it's like having your bag packed. And then just taking all of those different stories, all of those different circumstances and things and, you know, people, in a way out of your life. So if we are really struggling here, if you are one of those people that have struggled this month, it's just so nice to give things away. Here, take this. It's okay. I don't need to have this on person. You can also give away certain ideas that are falling on their face again and again, or certain outcomes that are not good enough. And what makes something not good enough? It's too complicated, or it's just uncomfortable. Maybe people come to your shop very rarely, or maybe there is just nothing you can do. So like an obvious lack of success in something, in some things, you have to really know this now. So it's like, wow, I really don't want this to happen again, or like I don't like when this happens, or I feel bad when this happened, especially if you have had something happen recently. as I did as well. So if you had something recently surface and you now understand, I don't want this to happen in my life, you can basically be very blessed simply because you have drawn a line. So this is also like a surgery. We have, as I said earlier, Mars next to Chiron, so it's like a knife. So that means that we can cut things out of our system. Yes, some people can do a very good surgical procedure, but this depends on the doctor, really does depend. And some things can be done, but make sure that your choice is very clear and eloquent. Otherwise, it's like a tail and it just trails after you. So if you still can't make the choice, don't, just wait. Or if there is something about you that is feeling pain or discomfort about how things have gone in your life or how things have been done, that's not too bad. It's just so nice to help. So I think that offering prayers, offerings of any kind, helping somebody along, doing something for free, being a helper to another person, or just giving your things away is a very, very, very good thing to do. So that can clear your karmic blockages. And if you don't feel the best about something that you've been a part of, or if something is a no-show, and maybe also somebody in your life is not working for you, or you are feeling like there is a lack of trust in your personal life, don't worry about it. The best thing to do basically is to wait, because some of it can just fall apart or fall into place by itself. Also, as we are going into Cancer, and there is Ceres in Cancer, so we are going to be given something. There is going to be a nice, beautiful, sentimental touch to things, and I do trust that this very feminine time is going to give us that next tide or that next level of happenings. But we also do have Black Moon Lilith. Now this is depending on you and how you work with your life. So for example, working in the realm of astrology and esoterics for me, and at magic, I work with magic, with energy. Lilith has been a very, very good sign. So because I've developed this intensely, epically, this energy, I know it and it can give to me. But say if you have fears and you have nightmares and you've had a very, very hard time understanding culture, religion, or the light and the dark side of life, if you don't understand what the other world is, it can be very, very damaging time. Or if you have a history of drug use or ruckus behavior or seduction, yeah, it can be a difficult time. It kind of depends on how you've done. So, I mean, for me, it feels to me that for some people, Cancer will be an alleviation of certain struggles and certain doubts. And for a lot of us, it won't. It sort of depends on if you're ready to see Lilith in the sky. And all of it is going to eventually come down to a nice gift or a giving of sorts, as Ceres in the first part of July should be really giving and caring for us. So we have quite a lot of smoothing and comfort to look forward to, and I definitely trust that some of us will get the work done, or will at least see what the results of our lives have been. So this is a closure point, inevitably. So when we go through this moon, that is happening on the 14th of June, we have to basically be free enough and open enough to be able to slide and glide in the Cancer month as it comes on the 22nd, around the 22nd, 21st of June, so that we are not obstructed. I feel that we are stubborn. I think that stubbornness is one of the worst things here. I feel stubbornness can make us very uncomfortable. I feel that being uncomfortable and rigid is what is going to cause the most havoc during this time. So if you are watching this video after the 14th, don't worry. Let's talk a little bit about the time coming to the new moon at the end of the month. So there's going to be quite a lot of us, I feel, in the second part of June, starting to struggle where we know we aren't free and we aren't coming of age. So when we know that we don't have sufficient maturity or life results, I think it's going to be a struggle. So there's this question mark of who am I, what have I done in my life, or what have my efforts brought me, or what has my behavior costed in a sense. So I feel that somebody else might have a program for you or a message for you. Sometimes it's really good to find a guide or a teacher, or don't, just wait. I think that all of this agony, if you are experiencing agony and frustration could be just a hidden part of you that is too stubborn to change and doesn't want to shift. So if you have that about you, or something's happening like that around your area, like where you're working, or at school or at home, it's very, very good to see how that's not going to help. So stubbornness and vulnerability hidden by stubbornness actually is the worst thing. So sometimes to be brave is to be vulnerable. I think that this next step, however you take it, needs to be very see-through and transparent. We don't really want to be also open to things that are not real, but we really want them to be. So well-wishing and good-wishing and high idealism, while not being actually backed up energetically, financially, or physically, is very, very hard. And it's also been very hard for me to understand these rules, like these cosmic laws, this month around. So if you are also in a relationship or a situation that you can't handle anymore, you can't keep on paying for, or you can't be a part of, if you're doing things with people that are not qualified or that are not well-to-do, if you are also making sense of something that is not good enough for you, that is all going to come to the surface. So for example, being with an immature person in your life, having to pay for somebody else's mistakes, being with somebody who is immature or has a lack of mastery, also going to a practitioner or going to a doctor that doesn't have enough know-how, it is all going to come up here. And I definitely feel that by the end of the month is going to become very also rude, like just rude and obvious if you are on either side participating or partaking in something that is just not whole. So what I mean is, for example, if you have a predator in your group and you are still in their favor, okay, that is going to be very obvious. If you have a relationship that is more a mother-son relationship than a partnership, that is going to be obvious, or a father-daughter relationship. If you have paid for something that was meaningless or that wasn't worth it, that is going to be obvious. If you're telling people that you are the master at something while you're not, that is going to be obvious to yourself or to others. Also, if you don't have the skill that it takes, you don't have the time, the energy, or the abundance that it takes to do something, that is going to be obvious. So shortcomings, they have to be faced. So you are not in the slow grind. So one of the things that Gemini has done for me and that helped me is to understand where I am kind of in a cosmos of thought or a cosmos of experience that I don't want to be in. So for example, you are sucked into a world that you don't want to know about. You are, like, say, next to a person you don't care to know about, or if you are just working with something that has nothing to do with you and you don't feel inspired, which is what I think has happened to me and quite a few people. It has to be really seen for what it is. So here we have to really look at the edges and the curves and understand how many also people in our lives are maybe partaking with something that we're doing with us, which is not of meaning or which is not of substance. Anything that has no potential to grow, anything that is not masterful or meaningful enough, anything or anybody sometimes in a situation or group that doesn't have enough faith or doesn't have enough normal, natural meaning within a situation, they have to go. If you don't want to go, for example, if you are pretending that you want to be in a situation which is not tailor-made for you, it's very, very hard for other people to understand that. It's very hard to work with it. If you are making a story over the top of somebody else's story, so for example, somebody else is doing their thing and they really got themselves together, but you're making a distraction for this person and you're leading their attention away from the truth of who they are or their true feeling, that is needing to be solved, because that is going to cost everybody. So for example, this is an example, your wife is starting to get really, really good at philosophy. And she's spending all day, all night studying, and she's actually becoming a master at it. but you want to go on holidays, but you want to be in bed all day, but you want to go somewhere and present yourself in society in a different way. You are pulling this person away from her core. Okay, so here you have to understand you're going to be in the way, or in a way you are like a block between a person and their next step of evolution. If you have somebody next to you that really wants to do something, be somebody, because Tiger Year is going to spike and spice some people's lives. Like, I really want to do this. If somebody really, really wants to do something and you're standing in the way, maybe you're a parent to a very gifted child and just don't believe in their progress. If your child is naturally good at something, be it sport, be it dancing, be it singing, and you're standing in between your child and their dreams, you have to understand this can be like an intense crime later on. So like when your child grows up and they've done everything you wanted them to do instead, and then they find out only later in their late 20s they should have just stuck to what they were doing in their teens. That's very, very hard. So if your husband, wife, child, or lover, or anybody in your life, also people that you work with, have suddenly a natural burst of potentiality, get out of the way. So that's the thing. It's like if somebody has a real big vision, suddenly, you know, you're practicing sport all the time, like you really got it, like you feel very inspired. If somebody has a bout of inspiration, let them have that bout of inspiration and move on. So like that's the thing. It doesn't have to be messy, doesn't have to be ugly. It's just about giving people space to do what they want. There is sometimes a sudden mastery that can be awakened, especially as we are going through the top of the sky lunar illumination here in Sagittarius. A sudden illumination or a sudden exalting energy of what a person has always wanted to do. So for example, if you really, you know, doesn't matter what age you are starting to become a master. Sometimes a person can be a master at 12. That's true. If you are due to be a master, and if you feel like you are like that now, and somebody else wants you to just plow through and do things that they want to do, take them out of your life. Just in a good way. Like say, okay, look, I've just been activated. I really feel this, and this is becoming like the pinnacle of my life. It's like this is accelerating my growth so much, or this is giving me so much joy. Don't just go to the 9 to 5, you know. So if you got somebody standing in the way and they want you to be their best friend, or they want to feed from your energy, usually these people that stand in the way don't have something of their own. They usually don't know what to do themselves. If you don't know what you're doing in your life yourself, don't stand in the way of somebody else's progress. You know, it's good to see yourself clearly. It's like, I don't know, I just want to entertain myself by being in front of someone who's actually got so much else to do. Sometimes a person will get a brutal awakening during this time, and yes, accidents happen, honestly. Bad things happen, also like good things happen, and sometimes it's a very tipsy-turvy kind of world over here for me as well. And how I've kind of like come to understand or recognize it is sometimes you can't cover up your soul's calling. Because if you are very, very, very awakened and attuned, and you have that huge vision, or there is something moving you towards an extreme associative time of your life and you're feeling incredibly progressive, there's going to be maybe an obvious thing that might be in your way. And some of the time it is a day job. Sometimes it is somebody else's idea, or your parents' idea, somebody else's business, somebody else's vision. Don't feel fear. It's just important that you are still yourself and that you keep going towards that prize. So it's like having your eyes on the prize, which is very Sagittarian, as we're going for the moon in Sagittarius here. And as the month comes to a closure eventually, we have to really, really breathe through it if there is something very, very like special and meaningful happening in our lives, at the same time as having 4 or 5 energies, people, or associations that are blatantly pulling you backwards. And that is hard, understanding I don't want to go back. I don't want to just like plod along. I have a big energy. I got a big seed to sow. And here's when we have to be in no trouble and understand ourselves. And sometimes when you understand the potential of your dreams and you can carry yourself forward and you feel like this young, fresh, genuine energy is actually like ringing through your whole body and you're able to be that person now, please don't feel fearful or sad or stuck that someone else can't do it. They can't generate it. Maybe your partner or your friend or your employer doesn't understand what you're saying. It's okay, and it's better that they don't. It's just important to make your own time and space so you can make it happen for yourself. And then make sure that nobody else is a part of your progress sometimes to a degree if they're not with you on things. You know, so if you are making something incredible and somebody else just wants to criticize you and how much you've done in your life or what you want to do, I feel that's going to be very heavy for you guys later. So a critical eye right now is a little bit dangerous. And I think although this kind of like space between Gemini and Cancer can sometimes bring out the inner parent, and people think that love has a critical character. They believe that being loving is being a little mean, as we also will have Venus eventually go into Gemini and be on her way to Cancer. That is not going to be very important for you later. So if you aren't showing respect to somebody who's actually trying to master themselves here, or if you are in a development that is definitely leading you to a state of extreme mastery or maybe even fragility, you have to forget all that other stuff. So that means just stop, you know. So if you now understand it is worthless, and even if those people are very nice or that person seems to be on your team, take yourself out of criticism, take yourself out of other people's guidelines or other people's disrespect, basically. And also try to put yourself into the driver's seat as much as possible. So it's maybe just you alone doing it. But in this way, also we do have Jupiter and Aries. In this way, you're protecting yourself and you're protecting your time and you're protecting your efforts. And if you can, grow your own business here. So if you have your own business, if you have your own people, if you have your own team or tribe, if you hold your own frequency very well, or you've done something that is very extraordinary already and you're not afraid to share and package it now, it's a very good idea to, but believe in yourself and don't let somebody else's little feet walk over you. So that's what I'm feeling during this month. Thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful and stimulating at least, or curious. I hope that you're doing well. If you like, please check out the caption section below, and I will tell you a little bit about what I really have to offer probably next month. This is only just a sketch for now, and yes, you can get in touch with me via the website if you like, and I can organize things for you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.